Hey guys, welcome to Clunker Revival, the podcast. I'm Tony, and accompanied by my good friend here.
I'm Jeff.
Jeff is the right hand man as it comes to these fixing everything related to Clunker Revival, and we thought we'd start a podcast and talk about the boat project that we didn't provide a good overview about how we got that piece of garbage.
It's not a piece of garbage.
Oh yeah, definitely
A floating piece of garbage.
Floating piece of garbage that we got in Kmart parking lot that was abandoned, by the way. Mm-hmm. It was abandoned in a Kmart parking lot that I had to impound.
Yeah, but like police impound?
Yes, police.
You just took it home and put a fence around it.
No, so I actually had to contact the landowner of the Kmart and ask him if I could remove an abandoned boat from his property. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wasn't the Kmart also abandoned?
Yes, the Kmart was shut down, so there was no Kmart there anymore because Kmart went bankrupt, I think. Who knows? Not fact check that one, please. And then I got permission from the landowner to impound it and tow it to my mother-in-law's house, who was stoked that I took a 1967 hydroswift to her house.
Covered in moss and goobies.
Moss and goobies, and had a stripped interior and had a bad trailer tire. Yeah, it was quite the sight. We have a short on it. You should go back and check the short on it. It's on the page for sure. The state of the boat was in pretty bad shape. I don't remember if you ever saw it back then, Jeff. Did you?
I never saw it originally when you first got it home. The first time I saw it was after it was washed up and.
Oh yeah, after the power wash. Yeah,
ready for some engine work.
Yeah, ready for some engine work. So I'll tell you a little bit of backstory about that. So we got it to my mother-in-law's house, impounded it on the side of her house, imposed an impound fee of $200 per day. I filled out all the state paperwork of filing for an abandoned title. And then you have to do what's called a title or VIN inspection, where you call the police and say, hey, I have this vehicle. It could be anything from a dirt bike, boat, truck, auto, anything you can think of. They come out. It's kind of cynical. They come out with their police car and they try to do a VIN inspection and contact the last owner. It's kind of nerve-wracking because they could take it back from you that if it's posed stolen. So they drive up to my mother-in-law's house. They check for the VIN, contact the last person that owned it. I feel like, and they come back to me and they say, hey, it's just been abandoned. Go ahead and fill out the paperwork. So send in the paperwork. And then 6 months later, by mail, I'm sitting at home, go to the mailbox, get the title. Well, it's not even a title on old boats like that. It's just a registration and a bill for $133. Yeah.
Not too bad of a deal for.
Yeah. So about 10 hours worth of paperwork and $133 from the state. And I have myself a boat.
Clean one owner.
Clean one owner that didn't run. Was horrible. Yeah. And then I think you and I started working on it in the February of 2021. I think it was.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah, I think so.
It was.
No, it might have been February 2022. I know I got it. No, I got it in 2021. Didn't do anything for a while, and then February 2022, and then he came over that one weekend. We tried to figure out how to use a GoPro that was a GoPro 5.
The vintage years.
GoPro 5, and then I think I did 2 camera angles. Right.
Something like that. It was pretty limited.
And we got it running. Yeah, that's right. But it didn't take much to get it running, did it? I can't remember.
No, the engine's always been solid, even though there's a bunch of water in it and the crack in the exhaust manifold and everything. But yeah, I just had some low compression on a couple of cylinders. But after we got it cranked over and got her to fire off a few times, that compression come back, and man, she's just run like a top ever since.
If I remember right, we were really worried that it wasn't stored properly and there was water in it, and then the filter, the oil filter, took me 35 minutes to get off. We ended up pounding a screwdriver through it. It tilted off, and then we got the oil filter off, and then there was a bunch of water in the oil, and you and I were super nervous. And then we hooked up a new battery, wired in the ignition, and then didn't you take the top of the carb part? Remember that? The top of the carburetor.
remember exactly, but yeah, I think I pulled it off looking for anything scary in there, and it wasn't actually too bad.
Yeah, it had a brand new carburetor in it. It looked like it wasn't an old carburetor. It was a, and then we freed up some stuff, blew out some rust out of it. And didn't it fire right up after that?
Pretty quick, but yeah, so I mean, it didn't take much. I've definitely dealt with a lot worse,
For sure.
but yeah, it was pretty minimal to get the motor running.
Then I remember, um, and it was shown through those videos. The cables, that was the big thing. Setting the choke, and then we couldn't get it run right. The trim motor, all little small problems, right? Just a bunch of small stuff, right?
Trim motor's my nemesis.
What
Me
is,
and me and it had some words.
yeah, I couldn't get it to come up when we rebuilt the trailer. Then I beat the crap out of it, and then with a big hammer, got it up.
You performed percussive maintenance, not beat the crap out of it.
Oh, that's right. And then I rebuilt the trailer. Um, yeah, I couldn't find parts for anything. Ended up just getting bearings from the local O'Reilly Auto Parts. Remember the tire debacle I had? Tried to put trailer tires on it, it wouldn't fit.
Yeah. Remember?
At one point, I wanted to cut the wheel wells off because I was so frustrated.
Yeah. I remember banging on that one. I'm like, that'll fit. Just shove it in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that was a bad idea. And then we ended up putting car tires on it. Um, then the spare tire holder was bent. Somebody looked like it hit the right side pretty hard. Spent it. My poor wife, man, I kicked her out of the garage for 2 weeks, and I spent every night after work working on the trailer. Never learned laid carpet in my life. Figured that out. How's that holding up, by the way?
I'm fine. That's all good.
Uh, man, I remember. I think I spent more money on the trailer than I did the boat. I think
Yeah,
the
you definitely did. You prioritized a little odd on that project.
trailer sound now, right?
I don't know, boat might work, but man, that trailer's gonna work. Except for them car tires, they might pop.
And then we put those LED eBay lights on. Remember, we couldn't get the reverse light to work, but we got everything else. So they look really good, by the way.
Well, yeah, the Ford flat. Not gonna get the reverse lights, which I end up fighting that just a little while ago too.
Mm-hmm.
Damn ground was corroded and chased my tail. Chased my tail. I just gotta quit doing electrical. I'm not good at electrical. And finally, figured I was like, maybe it's the ground. I went up there and it just snapped off. It's like, ah, man.
Oh, that was yeah. That's right. That's right. And then we there's all kinds of other little stuff. Um, the air duct towards the end there. The lock for the lid. I spent hours and hours just doing little things. Fire extinguisher in the front, mount. Those chairs,
They're still holding.
the captain chairs.
Yeah, after that first debacle,
Oh
they're still
man,
holding now.
the first debacle. I remember when I came up with the design for the captain chairs. I made wood, and it's not very strong wood to hold up the back. And by the way, the captain chairs and the back seat are just old kitchen chairs that my wife got from Home Goods. She was tired of those chairs in our house, and she got some new chairs from Home Goods, and she gave me those. And I framed up the back, and then I was set on making some awesome captain chairs. Luckily, I have a welder, but I haven't used the welder in probably 10 years. Um, and I tried to weld those brackets together, and you and I were out and didn't weld very good, and it fell apart, didn't it?
Yeah, about got cornholed.
That's right.
The
That's
seat,
right.
the top of that seat came off, and
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
well,
And
I got interesting.
then I re-welded them again. Didn't show the video because I didn't want to show YouTube that I don't know how to weld, which is very evident. But I took them back off, took them all apart. But I learned a lot during that part. I used these furniture settings. I don't even know what to really call it. I drilled out the bottom of the boat and laid in some nice things to lay the bases in. That was pretty cool. Took a whole bunch of time. But I think the biggest pain in the butt were those shifter cables. And then that thing that you and I first put it in the lake was a sensor. I can't remember the name of that. When the boat was running and then it would turn off. You remember that problem? I don't.
I don't. I still don't even know what the sensor or switch or whatever it is back in the outboard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it's there for, but yeah, we put it in the water. The wheel was straight. It would run. I think, and
Yeah.
then if you turned it to the right, it'd shut off.
It was like a
And
dead spot in the range, right?
yeah, put it
Like an
back
old
straight, it
throttle body
runs.
sensor, right?
I think what it's supposed to be is like you can't shift it too fast from forward to reverse or something. I don't know. That's
Okay.
what I've been told. I'm not good at boats, but
Okay. Nobody
uh,
is.
yeah. So once we isolated, okay, it's probably these two wires going into the thing. I told Tony, it's like, well, we can cut one and see what happens. And what's the worst? We're gonna have to patch it back together, but the wire's old and rotten. And cut one, no change.
Yeah.
Screw it. Cut one, we might as well cut two. And
Yep, that's right.
oh yeah, it was the other thing. I figured if depending on how the switch is, we might be able to just wire the two wires
Yep.
together, bypass the switch, but just cutting it open, or let's see, probably open the circuit so then it quit grounding itself out.
And then that were yep.
So now it runs without whatever that switch is.
Yep. You could turn the boat on. You could turn the boat on a dime on full speed. That's right. Now, what was the other thing? The 99-cent washer was. I think it was the third YouTube video when we took apart the lower range, and I had two GoPro 5s on. Remember, and I got all fancy with the footage, and I had two. We took the lower unit, and the lower unit, I think it was the rod that engages forward to reverse, had fallen down in the lower unit over time, so it would come out of forward or reverse, and then it would free spin, right?
Well, it just was the we call it the shift linkage.
Okay.
There's a little shoe that goes around a little post, but the shoe had dropped far enough to where it wouldn't engage on the post anymore, so the post would just slip out and you wouldn't be able to shift. So that shim we put in there essentially just lifted that shoe up to where it's always engaging.
Probably a different way to fix it, but you can't find the parts for it anymore, so you just put a shim in it so it just holds.
There's probably a proper way to fix it, but it works.
Yeah, it's probably a proper way to fix a lot of things, but we don't seem to have the time for that.
It's another one of those fixes that sure there might be the manual way to fix it in the manual, but there's a bunch of other ways to get it done without spending a bunch of money and get you out on the water.
Sure. And then I think after we fixed the shifter, we got the trailer rebuilt. I think it was pretty sound. Um, I went out a couple times with it. I took you out with it. We went up and down. Nice. Yeah, we had a great time. We were
stuck
hauling
in the
mud
mud,
that
didn't
day.
you?
Huh?
Did you get it stuck in the mud?
I did get it stuck in the mud. I tried to go out really late in the season at Utah Lake. I'll never forget this. And the water was low, and I ignored the water signs, the water low signs, and there was a bunch of people with duck boats. And I put it in with the water with a good friend of mine. We were supposed to get drone shots that day. We didn't even make it through the mud. We were chopping through mud. I had to get out and walk it back 100 yards. We got out 100 yards of it just chopping mud. The prop was just in mud. And then I eventually got out, sunk in mud, turned the boat back around, and walked it back, like I said, 100 yards. And then we put it back on the trailer, went home. And I said, wow, that's what you get for trying to put a boat in the water in October.
Disregarding all the signs saying don't put your boat in the water.
Yeah, and all the boats around me were duck boats, so I should have known better. It is what it is, though.
I was still spitting that mud out this spring when I got that fired up and ready.
It was.
It's an awful strange color water coming out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, but my intention was at the time I was going through some stuff with my family. I just needed to get my mind off of something, and we towed it home from a Kmart, and 2 years later, it's still running pretty good. I know you've had some problems with it here, but yeah, what's the latest with the boat?
It's been other than the trim motor. That was my biggest hang up for a while because it would, with percussive maintenance, sometimes it would catch and it'd run once or twice and then stop again, just a dead stop.
Ooh,
And I did electric motors for 10 years. I should know what I'm doing, right? So I pulled it out and did the basic. Yep, the brushes are okay. The comm looks good. Everything spins. Hell, it ought to run. So I put it back in, which is a pain in the butt. And it worked once or twice, then shut off. So I pulled it back out. Did the same thing. Tried a couple little more things, but because I'm A, slow, and B, stubborn, and C, a little angry sometimes, and I had probably had it out of that boat 5 or 6 times before I finally put the brakes on and stop and think, what am I actually doing here? But that's not just chasing my tail. I got testing through the comm and found out they were not connected to my, well, there's a few spots that were not good. So I had to crimp the connection down tighter on the wire and the armature.
Mhm.
So got lucky there. And it worked, and it got continuity through everything, so slapped it back in, and now, man, she runs like it's brand new.
So that
So,
takes care of the trim problem now, for sure.
well, part of it. Just
I think
just
my biggest frustration with towards the end there was the tack, right? And instrumentation. I didn't have any instrumentation.
oh, yeah, we just let Jesus take the wheel on all the gauge stuff when we're out on the water because the tack don't work, oil pressure don't
Or
work,
yeah.
fuel gauge don't
Or
work.
no, no.
So we're just like, well, we're either gonna blow it up or we'll come back, one of the 2.
There's no instrumentation for sure. I rem- that brings up a good story. Remember, the the fuel cell issue. So we got it running. It was probably the first time we took it out on the lake. I was like, "Oh, it smells like gas." My father-in-law kept telling me, "Oh, it's an old boat. It's gonna smell like gas." Ah, sure, he's right. Right. We get it out on the lake. We use it for a day. It finally dies on us, and I thought it was a spark problem. It was essentially that the intermittent prop problem that we later figured out. We towed it home, brought it in the garage, started right back up. Said, "Oh man, it still smells like gas." I come back a day or two later, and there's a bunch of gas in the bottom of the boat. I'm like, "Oh man, the gas tank's leaking." So the gas tank is in the front of the boat. It's really when they make the boat, they put in the gas tank first, and then they mold around the gas tank. So you can't essentially
Yeah,
take
it's
the gas tank out. There's
it's
just no,
hooked up in there.
yeah, it's tucked up in there. You can't take it out. So I did a bunch of research, and you could buy a bladder to put in there. Can't have, I don't have money for that. $500 for a bladder. So I thought about it, and I was like, what would I do in an old truck? Especially because I had an old truck once, I had a 1950s Ford F1. It wasn't really mine; it was my friend's. We couldn't ever get the gas tank right. It was full of rust all the time. So instead of buying a new gas tank, we just put a fuel cell in the back. And anybody knows you can pick up a fuel cell on eBay for, at the time back then, you could pick up a fuel cell for like maybe $100 shipped to your door. Now I got it for $133 shipped to my door. I just had to get one that was could fit through the hole in
Yeah.
the front, right? And basically we made some brackets. We drilled in. We filled up the old gas tank with water. We drilled up a bunch of brackets in there, cut off the filler neck, and put the new fuel cell just right on top of the old tank. I think it's a 15-gallon fuel cell, right? I don't know.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, 15-gallon fuel cell. I could never really get the fueler neck right, so sorry about that. But you gotta
Hold it
tilt it.
right
You gotta
when you
tilt
get
it. Yeah,
it.
sorry about that. You'll figure it out. But so we put the fuel cell on the top of the tank, and it didn't leak, and that was the quickest fix I could. I think I just ended up spending $200 on that. That was a big project, and of course I was doing it in the middle of summer. It was probably 106 degrees outside. It was the same weekend my friend brought over that boat that we thought was going to be okay. That Invader.
Yeah. Crack block or whatever it
Yeah,
had.
poor
Yeah.
guy, man. He thought he got a pretty good boat for free, and we got it running pretty quick, and then put new freeze plugs in it, and yeah, thing was toast. Poor guy. I think he ended up giving that thing away or something. I don't know. But yeah, the fuel cell was a big pain. The shifter cables were the big pain, and the trailer were. I spent way too much time on the trailer, but glad it's running good. Did you have one other problem too?
Yeah. Speaking of holes, um, so the first time this year that I took it out was kind of just a, I don't know, test and tune, see what else needs worked on. After I got the trim motor fixed, after I got the trim hydraulic lines to stop leaking such quantitative fluid. Now it's a slow leak, so that's nice. But yeah, we got it out on the water. Found out the shift cables and linkage needed some adjustment, but it still went into gear and everything. It worked okay. Long story short, get it back on the trailer and pull it up out of the water. Pull the plug out of the back. Nothing but a little pea dribble of water comes out of there.
Yeah,
pretty normal, and then
yeah, she was pretty sound from a whole standpoint, right?
yeah, and then, button everything up, getting everything tightened down, and walk past the back of the boat again, and it's puking oil out of the hole now. I'm like, "Uh-oh." So I pop the engine hatch, and somehow out of the oil pan, it's made its own hole. It's just steady flow of oil out of the oil pan to the very bottom corner too, so it's gonna leak it all out of there. So in frustration and don't know what better to do, we just put the plug back in and drove the damn thing home and figured, yeah, we're either gonna do a bubble gum fix or we're gonna have to pull that engine and, swap the pan out. And knowing me, I didn't wanna pull that engine, so we
Nobody wants to pull that engine, man.
yeah, the day I finally got around to trying to fix it, I was like, "Okay, better drain the rest of the oil out of it."
Mhm.
So I pulled the plug out. There wasn't a drop to come out of that damn thing.
'Cause it's the lowest spot of the pan, right?
Yeah, it leaked
Yeah.
everything out of that
Yeah.
hole. So we got it cleaned up, hit it with some sandpaper, and then mixed up that, JB Weld steel stick
Mhm.
and
You
put a
just what else are you gonna do, man?
yeah,
It's not
and
like
then
you can find a oil pan for 1967 Iron Duke, right? I guess you could.
pretty good.
Yeah, but
But yeah,
what are you gonna do?
put the patch on there and it's holding. I put I don't know, about a quart in the day after I put the patch on, nothing
Mhm.
got wet. Put a full oil change in it, let it sit for a couple days, still nothing got wet. It's like, screw it, let's take it out in the pond. So we went out and ran it, and we ran out and ran it for I don't know 2 hours that night that weekend, and it's still holding. So we're we're waiting to see till when it don't.
So that concludes like, 1,700 bucks, rebuilt trailer, a whole bunch of learning, and 2 full seasons. Maybe it doesn't get used all the time, but which is fine, but I used it 4 or 5 times. You've used it 2 times. It's on pace to, 6 times. Maybe not quite break even, but I mean, it was in a Kmart.
Yeah,
Abandoned Kmart, which is funny. An abandoned boat and an abandoned Kmart, which now is I think it's a cow ranch or whatever, but it is what it is now. But yeah, a
but it's finally getting to the point where I don't have to worry so much. There's little things. There's always stuff to worry about, but it's I could go hook up to it right now and take it to a pond and not worry that much. I could go float around all day,
yeah,
have a boat-tacular boatorama, and it's fine. I don't have to really fix anything right now.
yeah.
But with anything mechanical,
Hmm.
stuff's gonna break, stuff's gonna leak, whatever. You're gonna have to fix stuff.
Hmm. That's true. And
But
it's when you pull the plug at the end of the day to drain the water that got in it, it only probably has about 4 or 5 drips. It doesn't have anything in it.
yeah,
It's the
she's
weirdest thing. I've never seen something like that. Hardly any water gets into it. Yeah, for sure. I think now that the boat's done and you got it, I think the intention of mine was just to give it to somebody or sell it. I didn't feel like selling it was the right thing, and especially now I could just come over to your house and we can go to the lake, take the kids when they're older and pull them around. But I think the other great thing of it is I have a motorcycle that I got for pretty much nothing. Um, it's a Suzuki that we've seen a couple episodes about, but it still needs a bunch of work. But the intention now is to finish up this motorcycle and get it running right. I think we got it running right now in some of the videos that you've seen, but it's still a piece of garbage. It needs a whole bunch of work. We put that LED headlight in the front. We got the brake cable fixed. I think we're still mocking up the gas tank. The gas tank had a hole in it that
had multiple holes.
yeah, that we stitched weld, and we almost blew ourselves up.
We tried
Remember?
to blow it up once. That tank has to be all the way full of
Yeah.
water.
I broke the tail light. That's an awesome tail light that you and you guys give me heck about all the time for sure. We can't seem to figure out the wiring harness at all, right? It's a 6-volt system, kickstart 6-volt system, right?
It's yeah.
It's a piece of junk. We
It
don't even we don't
it
even
runs, it has a key, the lights kinda work. We'll call that figured out.
and here's what I when people tell me, "Hey, what kind of motorcycle do you have?" I just tell them this, and I don't even know it's right. So this is what I tell people. It's a 1982 Suzuki GN400 kickstart that somebody bought a frame from eBay. 'Cause I remember back in the day, about 10 years ago, you could buy a frame on eBay with wire wheels and a hardtail. You could do that. So
Oh,
you could do that for $1,000 and ship it right to your door.
huh.
And I think what we think we have here is somebody bought this kit from eBay, took the GN Suzuki 400 motor, which is very common, put that thing in there, took the guts of the GN Suzuki 400 GN400, swapped it over, and it's just a kit bike. And you can when you ride it, it's hilarious. When you ride it, you've ridden it, right?
You said that wrong. It's obnoxious.
Yeah, it's obnoxious. I did buy a silencer from Amazon that we're gonna put on it, but
Oh, you got one?
yeah, but I don't know how we're gonna make it work. We're
Oh, we can make some brackets.
gonna, but I think it's just obnoxious, and I think that's just what we're up to now. I've obviously given you the boat, and I'm working on that Suzuki, trying to get it done. And then you bought a friend of yours was getting rid of a what was it? A Goldwing, right?
Is it an 82 Aspencade? Oh boy.
Oh yeah, that's the deluxe of the deluxe
Deluxe
gold.
Mundo.
Yeah, the deluxe of gold. I think you said to me, yeah, I bought it off your friend for $300, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Which,
came with a title, clean one owner.
yes, I think that says right on the title, clean one owner.
Yeah. So I bought a Goldwing sight unseen from a friend of Jeff's, and it's unfortunately sitting in at your house. I'll come and get it eventually once we get rid of the Suzuki. Sorry about that.
You got to quit storing your projects at my house. I got your boat, I got your motorcycle. If you give me that Suzuki, you're in trouble.
No, the Suzuki's we're just gonna get it running good enough where somebody can ride it. I took it for a ride the other day, and it was that little 400 kicks, man.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's got a small sprocket in the rear, man, and you're only going 20 miles an hour, but it is the most bumpy, hardtail 20 miles an hour you'd ever seen. It's about ready to throw you off because nothing's really pieced together or welded in place.
Don't turn too sharp.
Yeah, don't turn too sharp. It's got a big old rake. Yep, yep, yep. I barely fit on it. I'm 5'7" and I can only barely reach the front pegs. Everything's shaking. When you get somewhere after riding that thing, it is a journey. A friend of mine brought over his bike the other day, his Honda, and he let me take it for a ride around the block, and that felt like I was riding a Cadillac. And I remember trying to ride the Suzuki after that. I was like, man, this thing it's a pig, man. Yeah.
I'm excited to ride it tomorrow. I'm gonna take it on a toodle.
Yeah. So we got the Suzuki we'll finish up this year. I'm gonna come get the Honda. I don't know what I'm gonna do to the Honda. I really think I'm just gonna get it running right with your help and sell it, and then really think I'm gonna either buy another bike or a truck, an old diesel truck, because I can't fit bunches of bikes in my current truck. It's way too high up it's way too high up. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So we'll see. I think the intention is to just have more podcasts and talk about these clunkers and the good stories because we just don't seem to get it right on the videos. We try to tell the story, but it is what it is. But yeah, that's what we're up to for sure.
Turning wrenches and swearing and having fun.
Oh yeah,
Definitely not wasting a bunch of money.
yeah. So yeah, we're definitely not wasting a bunch of money. We try to keep the budget under $2,000 for anything. But if you like our content, please hit that like or subscribe button. And if you want to buy some swag, we got some t-shirts on Teespring. Help the cause, help us save another clunker. Maybe buy a shirt or tell a friend. And thanks for listening.